I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with the feeder flash for Wednesday, January the 24th, brought to you in part by Performance Livestock Analytics. Here a couple of months ago I mentioned that I was able to meet the co-founder of Performance Livestock Analytics, Dustin Balsley, and he told me he really wanted to help the small producers. That's why I come up with this software and the small farmer feeders that they have up there in Iowa where he was from. But you know, this software is as easy to use as your cell phone with Performance Beef, and it helps simplify feeding, performance, and health. For more information, go to performancelivestockanalytics.com. Hold still for your EID tag. I know we talked about this just a few visits ago, but when NCBA, your National Corporate Beef Association, came out with their directives this week, I just had to talk some more about it. And nowhere, mind you, nowhere in anything does it say anything about this being mandatory, but rest assured this is going to be mandatory, and it's going to be mandatory pretty quick, people. So NCBA came out with their directives, their policy resolutions that they're going to address next week in Orlando at their NCBA Cattlemen's Association convention, and this is going to be one of them. Now they continue to talk about animal disease traceability. That's all they talk about when they're talking about this EID stuff. They talk about animal disease traceability. Well, that's not needed near as much as the control, the surveillance of tracking your cattle and tracking you. Now, that's what this stuff is all about. Don't be thinking it's all about disease traceability. We don't have that much trouble tracking down our diseases. You know, the last real big one we had was the cow that stole Christmas, the BSE, or what they called the mad cow. You know, would it take a day to track it down? Knew everything with the things that we have already. So, you know, they continuously let beef in from third world countries that have foot and mouth and things like that. Why don't they just stop that shit? But no, they're worried about this animal disease traceability because it sounds so much gentler than mandatory animal ID, which is exactly what it is. You know, and they say, well, you know, these other countries that have mandatory ID or animal disease traceability, they're just so far ahead of us whenever we're talking about exporting and things like that. When you're exporting beef, they don't care about the traceability, people, just like we don't when we're taking beef in from Paraguay and places like that. They're not getting ahead of us. Very few people ever take any of our live cattle. If they do, those are premium type cattle. They're on some kind of a program, and most of those program cattle already have an EID in there with their pedigree on there and all their bells and whistles. What I'm telling you is, this is going to force small producers out of the business. And that is the thing that makes me totally against it. Yeah, it'd be great if we could track down if they had some big disease, which don't rule out them coming in with some kind of a scare. I told you that the other day. They're not above it. The powers that be are not above putting out some kind of a scare for some kind of a disease that we need to track down right away. And they said, oh, it was a false alarm. Thank God NCBA is on top of this thing, you know, getting this animal disease traceability figured out. Yeah, right. But they've got a directive they're going to put on front of their voters in Florida next week. The policy resolution is already supported by these cattlemen's associations right here. So if you're one of them, then you're a part of it too. Colorado Cattlemen's, Florida Cattlemen's, KLA, Kansas Livestock Association, of course, they're the ones push all this crap through. Kentucky Cattlemen's, Nebraska Cattlemen's, Oklahoma Cattlemen's, which they let Texas and Kansas tell them what to do every time because they just using their position as a stepping stone to move on up the ladder. of course, Texas Cattle Feeders Association, and probably the one that to me should be completely ashamed of themselves is Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association. Now, they exist to stop theft. Okay, that's one thing. We don't even have branding laws in the state of Texas, but they are supposed to support and look out and defend your cow-calf producers in the state of Texas, because we're the biggest cattle state. And then you got Texas Cattle Feeders. I can see why Texas Cattle Feeders are behind it, and KLA and everybody else, because they're cattle feeders. They don't have to worry about it. All that crap's going to happen before it gets to them. They'll get to benefit from it. The onus is not on them. The extra expense is not on them. The shrink is not on them. All of that. But Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association is supposed to be representing your 70 and 80-year-old producer that just loves his cows and wants to have some cows. He's got some ground around. He's got some lease places around. Your weekend warriors that love this industry, that want to do it, and things like that. But no, they're filing right in here saying that we're going to have EIDs. Now you're saying, well, what exactly do we have to do? You're going to have EID tags in your calves or your cattle, whatever level they're at, before they can be sold or moved. Now you're going to have a location ID. They pushed this, USDA pushed this 15 years ago, spent a pile of money, give several states a lot of money to push this. Missouri was one of them. I was in there then. I saw them piss that money away like it was nothing. They were buying crew cab diesel pickups for guys to go around and tell everybody that they needed their location ID. It was foolish. But now that you come in here, now the NCBA is going to make a resolution. They're basically going to have policy, and the policy says that NCBA and their members, they're including you, because likely you're a member if you've ever maintained ownership of cattle on feed. They went into a feedlot that was a member. You're automatically a member. Your dues come out right before anything else. If you're a member of your grassroots association, you're a member of a state affiliate, you're a member. And so they're going to include you, and they include everybody. It says NCBA requests that USDA publish final rules. Why would we have to have rules if it's voluntary? Voluntary means you don't have to have rules. You can just do it if you want, and you can do it at whatever level you want. This is mandatory, people. Publish final rules requiring EID devices by 2024, that's now, for interstate travel of all breeding age cattle more than 18 months old. Okay, so you're thinking, well, this is just a big breeding cattle. They've already crammed it down the people's throats that have dairy cattle, dairy feeding cattle. So they've already got those doing it. That's kind of been the pilot of this thing. And I told you guys, I've been telling you guys for years, they're going to cram it right down your throat whether you want it or not. So for interstate cattle that are moving or marketing that are over the age of 18 months. And then they want it by all cattle by 2026. That's a little less than 2 years from now, all cattle. Okay, so you're going to have an EID tag in your cattle. A friend of mine has a buying station. I got to talk to him on Tuesday. He said, now I had a farmer just pull up there, and he unloaded a bumper pull load of cattle there, 15 head of little heifers in there. We ran them across the scales. I gave him a check, and he left happy. And now what's going to happen? He said, am I going to have to put tags in those before I can weigh them? Well, likely, by the rules, the farmer should have already had EID tags in his cattle before they left home. And he said, this guy's pushing 80. He's got that bumper pull trailer, and he's got 4-wire panels. That's it, and no help. How's he supposed to do this? Well, they're probably going to allow, they're going to make it where, just like whenever you're getting brucellosis tags and things, you can bring those with you to the sale barn or to a buying station, or maybe some outfit that sets up to do it, and you can pay them to put them in, but they're going to have to be logged with your location ID. You can pay them to put them in before you market them. So all that shrink or one of them dying in the chute or something like that, that's on you. And then the cost of the tags and everything else is all on you, and you got to keep track of all that. So basically, they're going to be able to track your cattle wherever they're at, and it ain't just for your disease traceability either. They're going to be tracking them all the way. So I guess now our inventory reports are going to be spot on exactly. Is that the way it's going to be? Do we even need to brand cattle out west anymore, or just send a guy out there with a wand to sort those cattle off? So that time-honored tradition is no longer going to happen. Those shields or brands that those ranches have always had, we're not going to use those anymore. You know, they just want to change everything all the time. I hate change, but what I really hate about this is forcing those small producers out of business. That 75-year-old rancher in eastern Oklahoma that's got a 20-foot gooseneck and a half-ton pickup with an extra leaf in there so he can pull it when he gets it loaded. And he loves to get up in the morning, drink some coffee, and go check his cows. And they're pushing that man plumb out of this business. And I don't know, you know, and you look at you know, of course, Oklahoma Cattlemen's is all for it because Texas and Kansas tells them what to do, and they do it. Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers is for it. You know, Florida, you know, why are they for it? Because they know it's going to go through anyway. Well, why would you even run an organization if you're just going to go with the flow? Now, we've got a bunch of state organizations that are totally against it. Missouri Cattlemen's Association is totally against it because the guys that run that are totally in line with what's going on. They know what's going on, and they realize what it's going to do to their producers. Mississippi is totally against it. Yeah, it's just real frustrating to see this being crammed down people's throats. It's all about tracking you. It has a lot to do with taxes. That's one reason the Biden administration's getting involved in it. They're wanting to track these people, which you know, a lot of people have jobs in town and they run a few cattle for one reason, is to get a lot of their taxes back. Well, you know, I think all of us are guilty of that. But also, they don't like it whenever you sell one or two off and you take the check to the bank of the sale barn and you cash it and you put that money in your pocket and you go buy groceries with it. They don't like that. They want you to have to claim that money, pay more taxes, and that's what it's all about, people, is just tracking you. And it's the same principle as why they're trying to get rid of cash money. They want everybody to use their debit cards all the time and not be cashing big checks and things like that, because they can track you so much easier if they can just follow where you're using that card everywhere. Same with these cattle guys. And you might say I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist, you know, because I agreed with all the Trump conspiracies and all the Wuhan flu conspiracies. When they all turned out to be true, they're no longer conspiracies, people. Just wait on this deal. Yeah, you got about a week to raise hell, and I definitely would if you're a member of a state cattlemen's group, or if you're a you know, card-carrying member of National Corporate Beef Association. You say, well, who's not against for it? Well, U.S. Cattlemen's Association, who I am active with and I support, they've got policy against mandatory ID. So it was simple for them that they're not going to push this at all, and then they're going to stand in support with the state organizations that oppose this. But it's frustrating. We had a big Tuesday, guys. We're going to talk all about it. Let's talk about your board on Tuesday. February live cattle futures up 87 cents at 174.65. April up 92 cents at 177.82. Your back months were up 27 to up 67. Good day in your live cattle pits. January feeder cattle up $1.17 at 231. March up 237 at 233.65. Your back months were up big, up $1.47 to 245. Talking about LRPs and things. Look at that. November feeder contract is at 265, people. I mean, $30 higher than it is right now. You know, it might be, you know, if you're going to have cattle ready to sell at the end of this year around November, you might want to dally up to that, people. Talk about your March corn up 3/4 cent a bushel at 446 1/2. March beans up 15 1/4 at 1239 1/2. Kansas City hard red winter wheat up 10 1/2 at 617 1/2. Fat cattle trade, of course, zero trade, negotiated direct, and I'm not sure if we've fully seen that now, but we haven't traded 100,000 cattle in the last month, and you know, which seems like yesterday to me, but 25 years ago when I was working with Market News, USDA Market News, we would report 100,000 every single week in all 5 trading areas. 500,000 a week, and that's about how many we slaughter every week. So it made sense. Nothing so far this week, which is routine. But we did have a fat cattle auction where people went to find price discovery. You guys got to continue to support your auctions on your feeder cattle, or they'll take the price of them away from you too. Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota, 2,600 in overnight, 3,300 fat cattle total. The conventional cattle were $3 lower, people, at 168 to 170, 450. They're going to play hardball this week. Program drug-free or non-implanted fat cattle sell from 171 1/2 to 180 1/2. And a lot of good cattle there, Gary Marks told me. Box beef cutout values higher again. Boy, everything's going in the Packers' favor. Choice cuts 301.66 up 299. Selects up $1.80 at 288.38. Slaughter 240,000 up through the first 2 days of this week, catching up that compared to 223 last week and 9,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. If you see this report and you like it, but you can't find it on a regular basis, we've got an easy way for you to do it. Just text the word flash to 209 Corbett, C-O-R-B-I-T-T, my first name, or 209-267-2488, and it will be automatically or electronically texted to you, where you can have it every morning. You can just punch that text that they send you, and you can have it right there if you're interested in that, people. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Tuesday at 234.83, up $1.94 just for Tuesday's trade compared to the end of Monday. That's a big gain, especially when we had huge receipts around. That ice storm, you know, it was a few places that it kept the cattle out of, but for the most part, like Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains didn't have a big sale because their back roads were still kind of icy from that storm that come through, that ice storm that went up through St. Louis and around. So they didn't have a big run like they normally do, but hardly any other notable sale barns didn't have a big run. I was telling you on our last visit about Beaver County Stockyards. They're our National BeefWire stick-out sale of the day. They had 5,500 feeder cattle there. They had about 1,000 cows after the feeders there, but my goodness, they sold the cattle really well. Had a lot of loads of yearlings, but had a lot of mixed bag stuff too. But this is all of it put together. 287 head of 4-weight steers, average 449 at 316.28 on the average. 458 head of 5-weight steer calves, average 549 pounds at 289.85. There was 538 head of 6-weight steer calves, average 656 at 259.11. That's impressive. 826 head of 7-weight steers, average 753, and the weighted average on those was 240.63. And then 458 head of 8-weight steers in Beaver, Oklahoma. They averaged 830 pounds with a weighted average price of $228.03. in the Southern Plains guys in no man's land, Oklahoma Panhandle right there. I asked them how would they like on a day where they had 6,500 cattle to try to get all the tags put in. And they said, well, there's no way we could do it. That's what's going to have to do it for those producers that don't have the facilities to do it. It's not feasible, guys. It's about like the electric cars, but they're trying to cram them down our throat too. 223 heifers in the 4-weight category averaged 453 with a weighted average price of $280.70. 520 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 550 at $254.87. 680 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 654 at $235.66. 815 head of the 7-weight heifers averaged 750 pounds on the button with a weighted average price of $219.34. Impressive sale there at Beaver County Stockyards, my good friends there. Now up north and east of there, Brad Hahn at Fredonia Livestock Auction in Fredonia, Kansas, he had an impressive sale too with a lot of load lots on there. And I pulled the load lots of steers out of there, load lots and bigger, and look at these. Man, are they impressive or what? I'm going to talk about the ones that impressed me the most. A load of 825-pound steers in Fredonia, Kansas bring $234.75. They had one load of 917-pound steers in Fredonia, bring $220.50. But the one that was really the humdinger and could have been one of our top quotes for the day, but I want to keep it up there with Fredonia, was a load of 1,008-pound steers that bring $208.25. Wow. How about Unionville Livestock Market in Unionville, Missouri? My buddy Kurt Sporleader gave me the heads up on the Rockin' R cattle there. They call them Smoking R's now because they do such a good job backgrounding those cattle that all the buyers want them. They brought in 5 loads, all weighing right in there in that low or upper 8s, low 900-pound region there. 5 loads of them. There's 310 head altogether. The 5 loads averaged 889 pounds with an average price of $231.02. Very impressive there. How about your individual quotes? Atkinson Livestock Market, the old reliable up there on the Yellow Brick Road in Nebraska. They sell 118 steers, weighed 651 at $294.50. Wow. How about Tri-State Livestock Exchange in Ray, Colorado? The ugly part of Colorado. 113 little steer calves, but they weigh 5.5, not 501, 550, and bring $337.50. My goodness. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Huron Continental Marketing in Huron, South Dakota. It was 80 steers, weighed 816 pounds, and bring $249.50. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.